Hi everyone. In this segment, we're going to learn about the vertebral column for SCB 203. Okay, we won't add those specific structures of the vertebrae. We'll do that in the next segment. But for this segment, we're going to just identify the different groups of vertebrae that form the vertebral column. Okay. And so for this segment, we will have 5 basic different structures that we're going to have to know. Okay, but there's going to be a little bit more additional information we're going to add to this, as you will see. Okay, so let's just follow the same pattern, and we're going to put the first letter of each group here with us. Okay, so the first one is a C, T, L, S, C. And so the first one, the C refers to the cervical vertebrae. Okay, so these are the vertebrae in your neck, and there are 7 of them. And the way we abbreviate the cervical vertebrae is we give each one a number designated by a C for each of the 7 vertebrae. So it goes from C1 to C7. Okay. Now, C1 and C2 have special names, and we'll tell you now. Okay. But in the next video, we'll look at a little closer look at them. C1 refers to the atlas. Okay. And C2 refers to the axis. Okay. So if you remember your mythology, Atlas held the world on his shoulders, much like Atlas does with the skull. Okay. The axis allows our head to turn to say no. Okay. On it, and so that would be important. Now, if you have trouble remembering, it, which is which, just remember that these are in alphabetical order. So C1 is atlas, which comes in the alphabet before C2, the axis. Okay? So in this figure here, we have vertebral column showing C1 to C7 right here. Okay? And so these are generally smaller, as we'll see in the next segment. And the first 2 are the Allison Axis. Okay? So you refer the atlas as C1 if you like, and when the axis is C2. Okay. The next group of vertebrae that form the vertebral column are the thoracic vertebrae, and there are 12 of these. And these are abbreviated T1 to T12. Okay, and these all have ribs attached to them. Okay, so in this figure here, we have the thoracic vertebrae, T1 to T12. Okay, so this forms your upper back. Okay. The third group are the lumbar vertebrae, and there are 5 of these, and so they're abbreviated L1 to L5, and these are the lower back, and these are going to support the body, and they're going to be much larger than the cervical and the thoracic vertebrae. Okay, so here are the lumbar vertebrae, and they're abbreviated L1 to L5. Okay, and I had a student tell me once, well, how do I remember how many vertebrae are there in each group? Okay, because on the exam, we may just have you name, let's say, this one. And so you need to know how many vertebrae are in each group. Okay, and so I had a student tell me that, well, he has breakfast at 7, he has lunch at 12, and he has dinner at 5. And that's how he remembered how many vertebrae are in each group. Okay, so there are 7 cervical, 12 thoracic, and 5 lumbar. And so if we ask you to say name this one on the exam, then you could just count and figure out which one it is. Okay. The next group is a set of fused vertebrae, but you just have to know it as the sacrum. Okay. So here's the sacrum right here. Okay. And so it's composed of uh, 5 fused vertebrae. Okay, we won't ask you S1, S5 on the exam though. But so if we show this to you on the exam, and we may ask you to name the bone, then what you will write down is a sacrum. Okay. Of course, we could ask you, what bone would you find superior to this bone? And then the absolute perfect answer will be L5. That's superior. Okay. And lateral to the sacrum, you'll learn that you have a bone called the ilium on either side. Okay. The last group of the vertebral column is the coccyx, or your tailbone. Okay. It's also composed of several fused vertebrae. Okay. This is they like to put this on the exam because they want to see if you can spell it. Okay. So make sure you know how to spell all these terms. And so here's the coccyx, or tailbone, right here. Okay. Okay. So many times it's usually attached to the sacrum, but don't be surprised if we just show you the coccyx by itself. Okay. So if you're not used to seeing it by itself, then it may look kind of strange if you're not anticipating it. So we can ask another question about the sacrum. We can ask you, what bone articulates inferiorly to the sacrum? And the answer to that question will be the coccyx. Okay. So now you know the different regions of the vertebral column. Okay. So let's just review. We have the cervical, we have the thoracic and lumbar, the sacrum and coccyx. The cervical, you have 7 vertebrae, C1 to C7, where C1 is the atlas, C2 is the axis. The thoracic vertebrae, you have 12 of these, and they're named T1 to T12. And the lumbar vertebrae, you have 5 of these, and these are abbreviated L1 to L5. Okay, so now you know the human vertebral column for the SCB 203 bone exam. Okay. The next one, we're going to look at the specific structures of a vertebrae. Okay, so see you then.